Macca's Guides.
Hey everyone, Macca here and welcome to my collectibles guide for the medium. In this video, I'll take you through the entire game and make sure to show you everything you can collect in order to grab a wide variety of achievements. A couple of quick things to note is that this game has no chapter select, so you can't go back and mop up. There aren't really any trackers to keep your progress throughout the game for a lot of the collectible types. And all of these must be done in one playthrough. So if you miss one, you'll either have to quickly reload your save or play through the entire game again. Also, be careful with how the game autosaves. If you do find yourself revisiting an old save, you have to get the collectibles again before you move on. Now, the first thing you can do is grab a missable achievement called Famished Feline at the very beginning of the game. Go into the kitchen and notice that the cat doesn't have any food. Pick up the cat food and put it in the bowl to unlock this. Mine already popped off screen. Next, you can go into the red photo room connected to the kitchen. And here we can develop a photo. The photo will be of Jack and it'll show up in our collectibles menu, but this is actually not required for the achievements, just something I'm showing you as an extra. Now we get into actual collectibles, starting with postcards. Once you get off your motorcycle, you can go inside of this small booth by the gate and find a postcard inside. Now, a cool fact you probably don't care about is that this game is set in Poland, and I can actually speak and read Polish, so I felt a little bit of a deeper connection to this game in a certain way. Next up, you'll be introduced to the kind of split dimension dual reality game mechanic of the game, and the screen will either be split vertically or horizontally. As soon as that happens, you'll have a short puzzle, but if you go up the ledge and to the right, you can find an Eerie Drawing. I believe Eerie Drawings are optional in terms of achievements, but I decided to show them in my video anyways. There are only a few of them, and it's better to be safe than sorry, and I know some people really dig the extra backstory. We then reach the Niwa Hotel parking lot, and as soon as we do, this parking lot is huge and there's really not much to do in it, but if you do run directly forward in front of you, you will notice a large payphone. Hey, remember those? And if you go up to it, you can interact with it. You can use LB, which will be an insight mechanic, and this will allow you to scan the object for a crack. Once you find the crack and it kind of explodes, you'll see an echo of a past time. There are over 30 of these in the game, and obviously I'll show you all of them, but this will be our first one to also unlock an achievement. Now from this payphone, before going inside of the hotel, you can go to the left-hand side further down the parking lot. As you run this way, you will find a car. You'll have to inspect this car as a part of the story to find a screwdriver inside. But as you look through the front window, you should notice a very obvious postcard on the driver's seat, so you can pick that up. This one is called Honest Work. Postcards do track in your collectibles menu, however, echoes do not. Neither will memory shards in the future. Then, as soon as we gain access into the hotel, you should spot your second echo on the ground to your left. This will be a little shoe next to a briefcase. And here we have to obviously inspect it for the tear so that the insight plays so that it actually counts. Again, echoes are unfortunately not tracked in any way via any menu. Also, inside of the hotel lobby, we can run forward a little bit past the check-in desk and then look to our right-hand side. Here, there will be a small table next to pretty much nothing, actually, and you can find the postcard called Promotion. You will then eventually find an odd key on the second floor and use it to open up this door. This game is very linear, so don't worry, you can't miss this. As soon as you enter, turn to the character's left-hand side and go through the immediate door on your left. If you continue here, you can run a little bit with that left trigger, but at the end of the hallway, turn to the right, and here by the window, you should find a phone. Pick up that phone and find your third echo.
Yes, I'm working on it. Yes, a few.
From that previous collectible, we'll have to drop down this large hole in the ground. And as soon as we do that, we can actually find our first memory shard in the game. There are only 10 of these. You cannot track them through a menu, but they are probably the easiest collectible to find through natural gameplay. And a lot of them are actually required for story progress anyways. As soon as you drop down the hole, look on top of the AC unit, interact with this, and then what you have to do is use your left stick to line up the memory, and it'll play, and that's how you know it has unlocked.
Sunflower, weary of time. For my favorite nurse.
Oh, Mr. Tarkovsky.
Please.
From that last memory shard, after dropping down the hole in the ceiling, we can walk forward, and here we can find a small washroom that's connected to the hallway. Inside of the washroom, there is a sink, and inside of that sink, there are 2 collectibles, including an echo on this bottle that we'll have to inspect. And after this bottle, there is another very obvious collectible on screen, but I want to make sure I call it out when it shows up. And this is our first Mentor's Diary. These are available in your menu, and this one is called An Apology. You will eventually use the razor blade to cut into a room, and here you can find the sunflower, which is our main objective. However, I'm going to temporarily ignore that and instead interact with the memory shard at the back of the room.
You want me to read you another? Oh, don't. He ended.
From that sunflower location, before picking it up, make sure you head into the washroom. The washroom is kind of connected to the first room we entered from. The camera angles make it a little bit weird, but you shouldn't have too much of a problem finding it. If you inspect where the mirror would normally be, you can find your 5th echo as long as you've been following along.
But I was too.
You will then learn to use your spirit shield to pass through some moths. On your second time doing this, at the very end of the hall, you can do an out-of-body experience in order to find an eerie drawing. These, again, are optional, but there's only a few of them. From that previous collectible, we're going to go into the office, which is our main objective. You will have to end up in this office as you play through the game, so don't worry, you can't miss it. But before going through the door, there are 2 quick collectibles we can grab on the floor, including the Troubled Man's Note, which is called A Peaceful Place, located in this small crate. Additionally, in the spirit world, you can find another collectible, which is an eerie drawing called Old Man, in the corner of the room. We'll then actually have to go into the office as part of our main objective. After you go through the door, you can go and interact with the desk. On the desk, you'll find a ton of different stuff, including a flashlight and a key that you'll need in order to progress the story and solve the puzzle. But there will also be the Troubled Man's Note, the to-do list. After that, you'll use the key on the clock to solve the clock puzzle. During the clock puzzle, you can interact with 5 different versions of the person in the office. And after you solve that clock puzzle, you'll end up in this room. In this room, you can find the Troubled Man's Note called Getting Stronger, which is located kind of in the middle of the room, just on the floor. Additionally, you will get photo number 2, which is called From Hiding, but this is required as a part of the story, so I don't really show it. You just develop the photo in the corner of the room, as we did earlier on in the game. We eventually make our way back to the lobby, and we follow the flickering light to a day room. The day room is unfortunately locked via a chain, but we can go up to the right-hand side here, and on this ledge we can find another Troubled Man's Note called Fever Dreams. You'll eventually end up in a large pool room, and as you cross by the pool with this camera angle here, you'll be able to drop down inside. In the far corner from where I'm dropping down now, you can find Echo number 6 on a militia barricade.
Let me be frank. This...
Right after that barricade, we can actually just hop on up and get out of the pool. And nearby on the normal ground floor, you can find a second militia barricade for yet another echo.
The nurse. She did it. She killed them all. Is that it?
Just past the pool area, you will end up in this kind of showery room, and you can crawl through a small hole in the wall. After you crouch through, directly in front of you to your character's left, you can find Echo number 8, which is a pile of clothing.
Cover your nose. Try not to look at them. Sooner we're...
In the same room as the pile of clothing, in kind of the opposite corner of the room, you can find a postcard called Someday. Very shortly after the previous collectible, you'll end up in this kind of tiled staircase hallway. At the very top of the hallway, you'll come out. And once you do, you want to take a turn to the character's right-hand side. In the corner of the floor there, you can find a note called Good Old Frank. Then what we can do is find Echo number 9. This is just after crossing through the mirror, and now we have access to go through this door. As soon as you go through the door, take a turn to the character's left, and at the end of this walkway, we can find Echo number 9, which is a children's toy top. You will then eventually drop down a ledge and end up right next to the pool again. But this is our second time in the pool and not that first time. There are now new things here, including an echo in the middle of the pool, which is a toy stuffed animal.
Ready or not.
Now from this echo, we can find another one by basically going exactly where we just were. Climb up the ledge next to the pool that we dropped down from. These echoes have to be done in a certain order because of how the story is progressing, which is why it kind of seems like we're just running in circles. Then from this echo, we can drop back down into the pool and go back into that small room with the hole in the wall. In that room, there is a pushable cart. You may have pushed it on your first time through without realizing. That's okay, no difference is made. But behind that cart, there is another echo. So make sure you push the cart out of the way and grab it before you move on. We can then climb through the hole in the wall yet again, and here we can now interact with a locker. Inside of that locker is a white cat figurine, which is a story-related item. You will need this to interact with mirrors going forward, and you'll also find a torn illustration. This counts as an other collectible, which means it's likely not related to any achievements, but there are like only 3 of these types of collectibles in the game, so I figured I'd include them just for those who really want to know as much backstory as possible. Eventually, you'll reach a point in the game where the monster known as the Maw becomes invisible, and here we can grab the Phantom achievement. What we have to do is make sure to not get grabbed by this creature until after we get the bolt cutters. This section can last anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes, but you only interact with the monster for short periods at a time. If you do get caught, make sure you load a save instead of pressing continue. With that being said, there are still collectibles to grab, so after the Maw becomes invisible and you learn to crouch and hold your breath, use your flashlight as an indicator of how close he is if you can't see him, by the way. You'll be able to cross through the hall and enter into the examination room. Here there is a phone on the wall where if we interact with, we can find another echo.
New details have emerged. The situation may be...
Very meticulous of you.
After interacting with the phone in the examination room, you can interact with the mirror to cross over into the spirit world, and as soon as you do that, you can walk towards the screen to find an eerie drawing. You will eventually find these two lovely characters, and your goal will be to release their souls. At this point, there is a split path in the game. You can rescue the left character, which is the male character, or the right character, which is the female character. I'm going to do the male character first, which is to the left, and if I go to the left, I can find an eerie drawing called Dark on the ground floor there. If I continue from the previous collectible, I'll eventually end up going through this mirror, which will bring me into this kind of conference/office room. Here, what we can do is we can continue to rub ourselves against the left wall to find another phone and find another piece of insight.
I gotta go. The voting's about to start. Yeah.
Then what we can do is continue through the hallway and into the other office room. There is a small puzzle here where you have to figure out who the soul belongs to, and you'll eventually find out their name is Nicholas. But before you do that, interact with the ashtray in the back to find echo number 15 for me. Another thing is that after you solve the puzzle and leave the room, the invisible maw will come back. So if we're still going for that phantom achievement, make sure you don't get snatched up.
I can't believe they sat me across from Boris.
Upon releasing the male, I am now going to do the right split path, which is the female. So at the bottom floor, I'm going to go through this mirror here. After I go through this mirror here, I can pick up the keys in the examination room, and this will unlock the door right in front of me. And just through that door, if I go to my character's right-hand side, I can find a postcard in the corner of the room called A Scenic View. I then had to sneak past the phantom or the invisible maw yet again, and I will eventually squeeze through these cupboards to get into this room right here. This is the ballerina's manager's office, and we can find an echo on the table by inspecting the little postcard.
This room has nice card. Was Vivian one of your stars?
Okay, don't.
From the manager's room, we'll have to use the mirror to end up into the ballerina's room. This is a part of the story, so don't worry, you can't miss it. You will find a piece of paper on the ground, and then you'll be able to put that paper into the book to reveal the phone numbers. This phone book has 4 phone numbers, and each one of them will reveal an echo. So for me, that's 17, 18, 19, and 20. Make sure you do all of them before moving on.
Hello? Yeah,
Not.
well, don't.
Victor.
Hello? There. No, you, Ellie.
Once you free both of the souls of Nicholas and Tori, you'll go through a mirror and then end up in this room. On the table next to you, there will be an other collectible known as a quiet girl. From there, we can head through the door-shaped hole in the wall into the connecting room, and there we'll find a wheelchair. Use your insight on this wheelchair to find echo number 21 for me.
Hello, my love. It's your favorite nurse.
The nurse.
Last but not least, next to the wheelchair is a desk. Interact with the desk. Here you'll find a scalpel, but you'll also find an other collectible called Empty Eyes. We now have all 3 of the other collectibles for those completionists out there. So now that we have the bolt cutters and hopefully the phantom achievement, we can try to go to the day room. But before going inside, we're going to find the trickiest collectible in the game. Use your bolt cutters and head back into the lobby of the hotel. At the very end of the lobby, there is a gate with a metal chain around it, which we can now cut through to go inside. This is your only opportunity to grab this, and it is very easy to just move on to your next objective and miss this one completely. Once you're inside of the gate, just run forward to the end of the hallway. There is a desk, and you can find the note called Dust and Death. Once you end up in the day room, you will end up in the split dimensions. If you hold B, you will have an out-of-body experience. And this is just a quick achievement reminder to do the spirit walking achievement, where you have to spend 10 minutes outside of your body. If you're really good at puzzles, you will beat the game before you unlock this. Now that we're in the day room, there are a ton of collectibles to grab as well as a few puzzles to do, but as soon as you enter, if we go to the left-hand side, we can find a small little bench here with a photo of some horses, and we can inspect that for an echo.
Gather around.
After we put down the picture of the horses, we can also find the mentor's diary called Throwing Away Greatness. If we back out from this bench and stay along the same wall as we just were, you'll eventually end up at a couch. On this couch, find another mentor's diary called A Very Special Boy. Then inside of the day room, in the very middle of the room, we can find an IV. The camera angle here is a little bit awkward for me personally, but you should be able to see it pretty obviously. If you interact with it, you can align the point of recollection in order to find your third memory shard.
Don't you think what about Rich? Oh, we were all right.
From the middle of the room, we can make our way to the opposite side of the room, kind of the right side of the room from where we entered. And on a small chair here next to some toys and painted walls, we can find the mentor's diary, A Well of Inspiration. From the previous collectible, inside of the day room, you'll only have one door to go through. And if you go through this door, you'll end up in the globe room, which is a puzzle we need to do. But there is a mentor's diary page called A Method to Madness on the table as soon as you enter. Then you can actually go and complete the globe puzzle. After completing the globe puzzle, you can align the branches in order to give you access to the balcony. This is a mandatory puzzle, so you'll need to do it. Either way, once you gain access to the balcony, go outside, use the balcony to gain entrance into the piano teacher's room, and interact with the piano in order to find memory shard number 4. You'll also need to pick up a bunch of piano pages in order to complete the puzzle here next.
I love this melody. Would you remind?
From the piano room, and after getting the memory shard, we can pick up the keys. And then once we pick up the keys, we can enter back into the day room, go diagonally across, and now both of our characters can enter into this side room here. I believe this is the teacher's office. And inside of the teacher's office, there are, I think, 3 collectibles to grab. The first one being an echo, which is on the pencil case on the desk in front of us as soon as we enter.
Come on, Rich. Rich, stay, do it from...
From there, interact with the other table in the room in the corner. Here you can find a pair of glasses. Interact with those, then line up the point of recollection, and you'll get your memory shard for this room.
So, that's... Yeah.
That's you thought to...
And next to the glasses inside of the teacher's room, we can also find the mentor's diary called Growing Apart. With the piano puzzle solved, you should now be able to use your spirit shield to gain access into this room. And as you come down the staircase, the camera will switch, but directly in front of your character in the corner of the room, you can find Mentor's diary called A New Hope. If you've been following along, this should be your 7th and final Mentor's diary, unlocking one of the various collectible related achievements. Additionally, in this room, there are going to be 3 memory shards that you can find by following the insight around the room. The ones I'm going to show you here are memory shard number 6, which is for interacting with the canvas.
Uncle Richard, you did.
Yeah.
From the canvas, we can move towards the middle of the room where we can find a doll. This will be memory shard number 7. Of course, you will have to be aligning these points of recollection to actually trigger the memory. I hope you're doing that every time.
Aren't you a bit old?
And last but not least, in this room, we can also find memory shard 8, which is kind of on the opposite side of the first collectible we picked up in the room. And this is a ribbon on the table. After this, you will spend a pretty long section of the game not playing as the main character, Marianne. And during that time, you won't be able to pick up any collectibles. So just play until you are Marianne yet again. After regaining control of Marianne again, you'll come down some stairs and end up at this intersection. Instead of going straight, turn to the left and then turn to the left again. Here there is a bench where we can find a postcard called Won't Stop. Next to the postcard, we can also find an echo on yet another payphone. So this is going to be number 24 for us. I think there's around 30 to 35 in the game. We'll figure it out at the end. But pick up this payphone and interact with it to get that echo.
This one felt...
After a very short period of time from the previous collectible, we'll come down a set of stairs and there will be a telescope directly in front of us, an information board, and the path on the right-hand side. If you look next to the telescope, you can find a postcard called A Poor Thing. Just after the last collectible, you will be following a path, and the path will eventually split into a right and a left. They both end up in the same area, but we are going to take the left path because it has a collectible. It is a postcard, and it is called Harder and Harder. You can find it on the bench.
Or something else entirely.
You will then reach a point of the game where there is a dog, and you'll have to follow that dog. But instead, as soon as you can, don't go up the hill, go to the right-hand side path. And here you'll end up almost near a river. And you can look to the right-hand side through some bushes. This one's pretty easy to miss. It's a postcard called Whispers in the Dark. You'll eventually end up at this campsite, and do not interact with the tent. Instead, walk down, and near this bench, you can find a postcard called A New Companion. Make sure you grab this before interacting with the tent. After you grab that, though, you can interact with the tent, and there are 2 things you can grab here. There is a staff photo. This is photo number 3, which is kind of optional, but you kind of have to pick it up to progress the story. And you can also find postcard. This one is called Regrets. This is our final postcard in the game, unlocking another achievement for collectibles for us. There will be a few cutscenes, and then you'll interact with Sadness on a swing set, and you'll end up in this scene right here with a barn we're going to have to go through. Before going into the barn, you can interact with a rock on the ground outside. To find this, make sure you inspect it for echo number 25. Stay outside of the barn, and right next to where we just were, we can also find a bike tire. This will be echo number 26.
Tried to get to...
We can now head inside of the barn. There are quite a few things to grab as well as a puzzle to solve. What we want to do is, as soon as we enter, interact with the workshop bench on your left-hand side. Here you can find a wooden toy horse, which is an echo. This is number 27 for me. So interact with that, but don't yet leave the workshop bench.
Are you looking for some? Would you?
Go, clever girl.
After you put down the wooden horse, you can interact with the Troubled Man's notes. This one's called Hell's Angels, and it's pinned up on the wall. After that, you can leave the bench and head into the garage of the barn. Here on the ground, you can find a tape recorder, which is an echo. This is a final type of echo we can grab, so you will unlock an achievement at this point. However, there are still more general echoes left to go. Right next to the tape recorder is a bench, and it's located on the far right-hand side of the screen. And on this bench, there is a luggage set. We can inspect that luggage set in order to find another echo. And there's also a collectible on this desk. Make sure you don't miss it. This one's a little tricky. Underneath the luggage case, just barely sticking out, you can also find a Troubled Man's note called Something Broken. Once you solve the puzzle in the garage and open up the gate, both characters will be able to exit out and head towards this house known as the Red House. Before going up to it, there are 2 memory shards to grab, our final 2 of the game. There is one that is a spray can just out front of the kind of main door, so make sure you grab that. And before heading forward, also we're going to grab memory shard number 10, which is a gas can located on the left side of the house. I ran past it a little bit, focusing on the wrong screen. But if you grab this one, you can also do this point of recollection, and you'll get memory shard number 10. If you've been following along, this should be your final one, and you will unlock an achievement.
Goddamn freaks! You think you're
You will then play another very long section as Thomas, and eventually you'll come back and start playing as Marianne, ready to go into this house. As soon as you enter, what we can do is find the Troubled Man's notes. This one is called Demons, and it can be found in kind of the corner closet of the room. You'll then spend a bunch of time in the house solving a puzzle that will culminate in you putting the masks on the 2 kids upstairs. This will force you to go through the mirror, and the mirror will break, revealing an entrance into the basement. The basement is absolutely littered with collectibles, so let's do them all one at a time and pay attention very closely. As soon as you enter the basement, go to the character's right-hand side, and in the corner of the room, you can find the Troubled Man's note called The Missing Piece. So make sure you pick that up. Now, very close to that last collectible, there's also this small side room, which looks a little bit like maybe a wine cellar. Inside of here on the ground on a box, you can find another note called Found Away. Then what we can do is find a bunch of echoes in the room. The first echo we'll find is kind of near the middle of the room, and it's a shoe, which is just kind of conveniently located on a broken chair. Make sure you grab this echo. It's number 30 for me. There's another echo located in this same room on the opposite side, and it's located on a small stuffed teddy bear, so make sure you pick it up. Now, my achievement unlocks on screen, and it's because of the order I filmed these in, so yours shouldn't unlock just yet, but it'll unlock in the next 20 seconds. After the teddy bear, that's echo number 31. There should be another echo in this room, and it is a syringe on the wall nearby. The angle you have to do this one at is very weird, but hopefully you get it. And this should trigger your achievement for all of the echoes in the game. Next, in this dark corner of the room, you can find the Troubled Man's note, A Different Kind of Sickness. This is the last type of collectible we'll need to be grabbing for the rest of the game, by the way. After you make your way through the bunker, the code is 1966, by the way, you'll have a small chase sequence that will end up in this room. After you gain control of your character again, just walk forward and find the Troubled Man's note called Separation. You will then want to make your way towards the pump control room. You will have to come to this room as a part of the story, but on the desk near the controls, you can find another note called A Relic of the Past. You'll then have to complete the water pump puzzle. To do that, you'll have to drain all of the water out of the west chamber to open up the water tank there, then drain the east chamber to open up the water tank there, and then drain the central and east chamber in order to find the door that connects them. You'll then end up inside of a bunker and go down a long staircase. You'll find a opened green door on your left, and inside of this room in the back corner, you can find a troubled note. You'll then want to restore all the power to this bunker by finding the fuse and restoring the power to the green zone. As soon as you do that, it should open up all the doors for you. You can now leave and go across the hall into this kitchen area and find a troubled man's note. From the kitchen, what we'll want to do is head back into the hallway and then proceed down the hall. Eventually, you will reach another room. You can ignore the bathroom here, but you should enter a room that looks like an office. And inside of the office, there are 2 collectible notes. The first one is located in the corner across from the door, and it is called Keeping Distance. Another note can be collected in this same room, and it is the business card located on the desk just next to the last one. Now, as I approach the last collectible, I'd like to ask you to possibly like the video if you have found it useful, and maybe think about sharing it with a friend. I would really appreciate it. However, if you do make your way down to the hall and into the last room, you can find another note on Lily's desk here in order to find the final collectible. At this point, just finish the game and you should have your 1000 gamer score. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope it was helpful. A special thank you to everyone on Patreon for supporting the show, and hopefully I see you soon. Peace.